Hello, Rooted Wings community. Hope everyone is well. I am excited to bring on Melissa Grace of San Diego Rise Up, and she is going to be sharing all about her organization, her passion behind this amazing organization that she has created. And then we are going to talk about what just a few minutes ago made national news. Nathan Fletcher, who is our San Diego County Chair of Supervisors, and his resolution that just made national news. So we're going to be talking all about that. I'm going to grab her right now. Okay. Melissa, hi.
Hey, Britt, how's it going? What's up, Rooted Wings community?
Hey, I'm so happy to have you on here.
Yeah, I'm stoked to be here. These are the important conversations that we need to be having on a local level with the folks that we know and trust that we can depend on.
Absolutely, especially with everything going on. Sometimes it's overwhelming and we can look at everything going on and just feel like I'm just going to give up because it's all too much. And to those people, I say, let's just reel it back in and look at your sphere of influence and then gradually work larger. And so for us in the county of San Diego, we've got a lot going on.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think that in a lot of ways, San Diego County is leading, if not just the state, leading the country in terms of how to assemble smaller community groups, how to band together with other community groups' leadership to determine where are we steering this ship, where do we want our county to go. And in a lot of ways, there's something really special going on with what we've got here in San Diego County for sure.
I keep saying the awakening is here. I feel
That's
like we're just there, and as much as it's crazy, I'm excited to be a part of that and to really feel like I'm seeing it happen in real time. And you're a part of that. So
Yeah, for sure.
that's why I wanted to have you on. So first off, why don't you just, for those of you that are listening who don't know Melissa, I want to give Melissa the opportunity to just give us a brief background about who you are and then this amazing organization that you started, and then we'll go into all the brass tacks of what's going on.
Yeah, so I'm a Bay Area born and raised. I moved down to San Diego about 15 years ago, give or take a couple of years. And just like most folks, I used to say I never get involved in politics. I don't talk about politics. And I think that that was probably something that was taught to me, learned in public school probably, and probably by design. And so like most people, as long as things are good, we've got a beautiful city, the beach is great, the weather's great. As long as everything's cruising with our families, there's no real reason for us to get involved. Well, I think that we all had a rude awakening over the last year and a half where we realized that that type of attitude has really set a disastrous foundation for what our politicians, our public servants have been, they've been afforded this opportunity to just have an open playing field, this like wide open platform. So, a flashback to about 18 months ago, my business was completely shut down, just like flatline because people weren't spending money. And I have a wife and I have a daughter that I have to take care of. And so I started delivering food for Uber Eats as a side gig. I had to make ends meet. And as I was driving through my once beautiful, thriving neighborhoods, around the downtown area, University Heights, Hillcrest, North Park, I just started seeing all these businesses shuttering, like all the businesses shut down, no foot traffic. I mean, it was like a ghost town down in the gas lamp. And I started thinking like, these are people's livelihoods. This is their families. Everything is at stake right now. So I initially, there wasn't a whole lot of people speaking out at that time. There was a Coffee Co. up in Escondido and a Alondra down at the Village. And so I've been a networker. I always say that my superpower is building rapport. So I'm not afraid to just like get in there. So I drove down to the Village and I introduced myself to Alondra after seeing her stuff on Instagram. And I said, hey, I want to help. And she, we had a brief conversation. She's like, I've got an event coming up on Saturday. You should definitely come. And that was really the start for me. So from about like maybe September of 2020, I just like got in there head first. I started introducing myself. I actually worked as the communications director for Peggy Hall and the Healthy American, and that gave me a wide open. I mean, the mentorship that I received working within the industry in the internal part of things really gave me a very firm understanding of what was going on. So flashback to June of 2021. This is where San Diego Rise Up got started, because as I was seeing the decimation in my community, I started getting more aware of who are our public servants, right? We live in San Diego County. There's 5 different districts. There's a different supervisor for each district. I'm gonna give you a quick little civics lesson for maybe your followers that don't know, right? So we've got 5 leaders that are responsible for each section of the community, each district. And those folks are supposed to be working for the people. They are our representatives. They are public servants elected to represent the people. And so I started getting familiar with all of these things. And a little birdie, I don't actually know who it was. Somebody dropped a message to me showing that Nathan Fletcher, who is the chair of the Board of Supervisors, he's the supervisor of my district, District 4, San Diego. If you have a San Diego area code, or if your home address says San Diego, you are District 4. And so, he was going to be given an award by the San Diego Event Coalition for how well he led us over the last 18 months. And I mean, if you guys don't know, Nathan Fletcher, I could go in more into detail about Nathan Fletcher later, but he's a finger in the wind politician, and he's been a political flip-flopper all along. He was originally a Republican and then switched to a Democrat, and somehow he weaseled his way into the chair of the Board of Supervisors position. So he ordered and approved sheriff's enhancements to increase sheriff patrol to shut down small businesses who were not going down with the lockdown. They had families to feed, right? So when I found out that he was receiving this award, I was like, I couldn't sleep, not in my stomach. It's like thanking the arsonist for burning your house down. I mean, Nathan Fletcher all but decimated the events industry. So I decided I was going to heckle Nathan Fletcher. That was how San Diego Rise Up started. I was going to host an event outside of where he was receiving his award, and we were going to oppose him receiving this award. And that's all it was. I had to get a name on Instagram in order to relay people to check out where this flyer was. And San Diego Rise Up was born. So, it was initially just like a one-off kind of a thing. And then after the event, which was called the Sunset Vigil, it was on June 15th when the city reopened, right? It took off in the community. And what I realized is that there was a need in the community that wasn't being hit by some of the other pioneers, like Reopen San Diego and Let Them Breathe, where we consider ourselves to be a nonpartisan citizens advocacy group. And the biggest part for me that I watched over the last year and a half was I said to myself, where are all the young people? And so what I realized is that they needed to have a face that they could really resonate with. And so as much as I didn't even want myself to have a public persona, I realized that nobody else was going to do it. It kind of fell in my lap. I had to do it. And our target demographics who interacts with us the most is from 25 to 45. So it was really an organic process. And I feel honored to be able to lead and to be one of many incredible leaders in San Diego County. Yeah, that's pretty much the story.
I love the story, and I love that it kind of has that springing off from Fletcher.
Yeah,
I love that. But you've turned something that could have been just devastating and frustrating into a moment for us to step in and to push back and to be the resistance. And that's what this community is all about. And I love that you are actively engaged in taking that outside of social media and making it a present reality, that we're not just behind a keyboard, tagging our elected officials or even sending a few emails, but that we're actually stepping into the ring and we're doing something about it. So I had the opportunity to be a part of the last Board of Supervisors meeting with you. And obviously I've been doing this for 18 months when everything was crazy. But I think that we're living in a time now that is interesting where this is the call for us to get out from behind our computer screens and step in and to connect off social media with others who are being proactive and actually behaving as the resistance. And so I had the opportunity to do that 2 weeks ago at the Board of Supervisors meeting that just went viral for good reason. And that's where I feel like this awakening moment is happening here in San Diego. And people are frustrated and they are tired of feeling like we are not being heard. And that was made most visible during the Board of Supervisors meeting a couple weeks ago with how Fletcher responded. So do you want to just kind of share that? Because then I want to spring into where we're going with this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, last Board of Supervisors meeting, which for those that don't know, the Board of Supervisors meeting typically happen every 2 weeks in San Diego. And up until about a couple months ago, we had a COVID agenda item or a COVID update every Board of Supervisors meeting. But because things have kind of gone into a lull, actually, we've been in a local health emergency for the last 18 months. So they've decided that they're doing a COVID update once a month instead. So you really have to refer to the Board of Supervisors calendar to get the dates correct, but it's usually every other week, every other Tuesday. And so, last Tuesday before last was a phenomenal turnout, guys. The Board of Supervisors are hosted at the County Administration Center. That's at 1600 Pacific Highway. It's downtown. It's right across from the waterfront park. It's a beautiful building. It's an incredible location. We shut it down pretty much. I mean, there was at one point, my photographer, shout out to the muse.io. I think I see him in here, Alba Films. He wasn't even able to get into the building because the building was at capacity. And the sheriffs there had said that they had never seen that happen. So we really turned out, guys, like probably 400 or 500 people showed up. There was about 160, 152 of us that had signed up to speak on one of the agenda items. And it was 4.5 hours of straight citizens testimony. Guys, we only get 2 minutes to speak, right? Two minutes each. And we had over 4 hours of public testimony. Yeah. It was huge. It was like, some folks were saying, we made a ripple. And I'm saying we made a tidal wave because it really kicked the point off where the people started noticing that they actually do have a voice. And the Board of Supervisors is a platform for the people. That county building is our building. And those public servants, they work for us, right? So the Board of Supervisors meeting was a huge success. And that really is the place, I think, for us to be able to show that we are not going to roll over. And so after this incredible event that
which I think it's important to say that the people who were speaking, it wasn't like one broad brush, we all fit into the same mold. You had every ethnicity, background, profession, stay-at-home moms, the average citizen, and then we had scientists and doctors, nurses. So you talk about representation. Everyone was represented at that meeting. Okay, so now keep going.
Oh yeah, I mean the diversity, and that's really that to me, and I'm so glad you brought that up because to me that was one of the greatest elements of it because I'm about breaking that narrative, right? I went on KUSI. Dan Plant had asked me, he's like, we hear that this is a right-wing nut, racist white movement. And what do you have to say about that? And I'm like, I'm a young LGBT woman. I voted, I'm still a registered Democrat. I voted Democratic my whole life. And so I couldn't be further from that. And I think that that's what we saw. We saw people from all over the political spectrum, all over different ethnicities and coverages. We had service people, frontline workers. I mean, it was really astounding. So that shows that this is not a secular issue. This is not a political issue. People from all across all walks of life are being affected by that. And that's really important for people to know because I think a lot of people feel isolated and alone. And that was probably the most rewarding for me because that's what we need to be showing. Every single divisive issue that's being thrown at us is a way to keep us separated. Because if we realize that we're all together and we rise up and confront our public servants, what choice do they have but to listen to us? There are more of us than there are of them, right? So with this amazing turnout and all of this energy that turned out, Nathan Fletcher, chair of the Board of Supervisors, District 4, had the audacity to send a public, a social media post, which was actually a repost from someone else, come to find out. He didn't even have the courage to use his own words, and basically degraded every single person that took off the entire day. We weren't paid to be there. He's sitting up there. He makes $250,000 a year on his straight salary. That's not including political kickbacks and all of the other fringe benefits that you know that he's receiving, right? So we took our time off work to show up, and he basically bastardized the entire process, accused us of not knowing how to do our effing research, and made a mockery, basically, like that's the response that we get from the chair of our Board of Supervisors, who's supposed to be representing the people. And you take that, and you know, I have my differences with Jim Desmond, with his political views, with some other things, but I also look to him as our closest ally on the Board of Supervisors. He's the one. So in juxtaposition, Jim Desmond was sitting there alert, eye to eye. He was nodding his head. He was engaged with what people were saying. He was listening. And you know, I would say that he is probably more a voice of the people. He's more willing to listen. I've had some disagreements with him. I've had several conversations with him. And we've, even in our disagreements, have been able to have a civil conversation. Every time I call, he's willing to have the conversation. And you look at Nathan Fletcher, who should be doing the same thing, which actually is really, this is a kicker. I don't know if you know this, Britt. So Nathan Fletcher's communications director, his name is James Canning. On the same morning, the morning that we were throwing our first event on June 15th, there was a Reopen San Diego event. Not Reopen San Diego, the group of our friends, and a reopening of the county administration center.
Oh.
It was a press release that morning. It was at 6:30 in the morning, and I and a couple of my friends showed up all like stealthy. You know, we had our signs, but we were holding them down low. So anyway, we got ourselves in between the cameras and Nathan Fletcher. So we were framing behind him with these signs, and they said like, cancel Fletcher, and they had Fletcher behind bars, and Fletcher's a member of the World Economic Forum, and like we framed his press shot. So his communications director came over to us in process of trying to rip the signs out of our hand. He assaulted one of our friends, impeding on our First Amendment right. So and silence from Nathan Fletcher, right? So this is the type of person that you're dealing with. He doesn't care about your First Amendment right. He doesn't care about your freedom of speech. He doesn't care about assaulting constituents who have every single right to be there. And so, you know, I think it's important to like get a framework for who we're dealing with here. So his post after the last Board of Supervisors meeting was just like a salt into the wound. It was just the last thing I think that people needed to really wrap their minds around who we're up against.
Well, then, so this is where I want to head with this. So all that in the background, we're preparing for the next Board of Supervisor meeting, which is coming up. It's this Tuesday, August 31st, 8 a.m. Melissa and I have both posted the event on our profiles. Don't leave yet, but after this live, and this live will be reposted, you can check out all the info and make sure you swipe through, because everything is fully loaded for you guys to know exactly what's going on, to be prepared. So as we're preparing this Board of Supervisors meeting rally / let's encourage people to get out there and speak, I get notification from an insider that there has been a new agenda item filed on docket, and it's coming from Nathan Fletcher. And I was a little confused because it's kind of late in the game for something to be filed, for us to have a COVID item now on the agenda. And sure enough, I open it up, and it's and I'm going to post links below this, but it's this thing. And it's Nathan Fletcher's Agenda Item 19, Framework for Our Future, Declaring Health Misinformation a Public Health Crisis for All Districts. And here I'm going to just give you like a little one-paragraph summary of this. This board letter declares health misinformation to be a public health crisis at a pivotal time in our history, with an FDA-approved vaccine available to all San Diegans free of charge and booster shots recommended later this year. Health misinformation now presents a greater threat to public health than a variant of COVID-19. In response, the Board of Supervisors of the County of San Diego recognizes the vaccine hesitancy that stands in the way of the county moving beyond the COVID-19 pandemic is being fueled by the spread of health misinformation and commits to developing strategies to actively combat health misinformation. And it goes on, and it's signed by Nathan Fletcher, and he's looking to pass this thing on Tuesday. It's going to need a majority vote, which likely will happen. And the framing of this, and this is what I want to draw people's attention to, this is such a sneaky tactic because the way that it is framed is in a way that you're going to look bad if you vote against it, because it's to declare health misinformation a public health crisis. No one wants health misinformation, right? So you're going to look like a bad guy if you say, no, I'm not going to pass this resolution. But when you read the content, and this is what is so important and why I advocate for doing research, and don't just read a headline, actually dig into studies, dig into what articles are actually saying. Look at the sources. When you dig into this thing, and Melissa, I want you to chat about it too. I mean, it's soft censorship by government impeding your due right to freedom of speech and freedom of expression. We have a constitutional right, both guarded by the US Constitution and the California Constitution, that says, hands off government, like you don't get to tell me what I can say. If I want to say that the sky is purple, I'm entitled to. That's my inalienable right. The way to counter anything that is false is for more conversation to be allowed into the public square, not to limit it, and certainly not at the hands of government, that the government is going to step in and say, you can't say that, because we are going to be the arbiter, and we will determine and label what is false and what is true. This is a very, very dangerous, slippery slope, and it's a whole new level, I think, of us coming into the next step in all of this. And it's highly concerning. And of course, it's on the back of the last supervisor meeting where Nathan was blasted with facts and data. And so this is his response, but it's bigger and greater than this. This is a very dangerous new frontier that we're heading into if this thing passes. So Melissa, why don't you talk a little bit about your thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, you summed up the framework for it really well. And what I would add to that is that the entire document, the entire concept of this being a health misinformation, right? We're spreading misinformation. We have to understand that they're only, the way that they're equating health is by how many people sign up to get the thing, right? That's the whole drive is to get people to get the thing. And if that's if you're looking at it through that lens, they don't care about health. What they're talking about is the fact that folks are deciding that medical mandates have no place in a free society, that we do not consent to having things jammed down our throats. And so if that's the lens that you're looking at it through, anything is being labeled as health misinformation because folks are saying, no, I'm not going to do this. And so the entire way that this letter is written is arbitrary because it's under the premise that they're promoting health. They're not promoting health. They have an agenda. Their agenda is to get as many people with the shots in their arm as possible. And so that from that perspective alone, the government has no business, has no basis, has no legal basis for telling us what to do with our bodies, let alone what to do with our free speech because of what we're doing. And so what we're seeing, and this is stepping outside the lane. It doesn't explicitly say this, but this is like being reprimanded for us asserting our First Amendment right to peacefully assemble. It's reprimanding us for daring to take on the authority of our public servants, to hold them accountable. And so, but we have to understand that this is coming from the top down. Nathan Fletcher didn't come up with this idea on his own, right? Washington, D.C. and the federal government and the U.S. Surgeon General is releasing this statement first. And so Nathan, it's important to remember he's a lockstep lapdog for Gavin Newsom, right? His allegiance is to the state. His allegiance is to the elites. His allegiance is to the political people in power. His allegiance is not to the people. And so he's taking all of this stuff and it's just rolling down the pipeline. And that's a really dangerous element because our public servants are supposed to be representing the people. They are supposed to be listening to what the people of the majority are saying, and they're supposed to be acting accordingly. And so I think that's the biggest concern here when you break all of that stuff down, is that we have the person who's leading our county is working on the other side. And the other side, we know, and you can get into the weeds. I try to stay out of that. You know what I mean? You can get into the weeds, how deep that goes. But this is a pretty nefarious agenda all the way through. There's a lot more that's going on behind the scenes that we're labeling as this health crisis. I mean, for example, look at how much our county, you walk down the street downtown, our unhoused brothers and sisters are struggling in the street. If we could afford a fraction of the resources to actually fixing the real problems that are facing folks every day, and don't get me wrong, I know that there's real people getting sick. I know that we are in a tough public health situation. I would go about it a little bit differently, but I digress from that. I got an email yesterday from the San Diego Unified School District that said that they invested more money in COVID safety than ever before in district history. Let that sink in, guys. Billions of dollars this year to make kids more safe at school. Like, these resources are being disproportionately spent in ways that we are not being able to decide on. And that's the real problem, is that our public servants are not working for the people, the majority of them in our county.
Well, and that's exactly what this whole resolution shows, is that rather than take into consideration the concerns of the people that he is to represent within the framework of our Constitution that allows us the right to question our government, to insult our government, to challenge our government, that's all protected. But when you have a supervisor meeting like we had a couple weeks ago, where the narrative is challenged again and again and again, rather than be the servant of the public that he was elected to be, he insults his constituents, and then he turns around with this resolution that, you are right, is coming from the top down, because the Surgeon General is he's mentioned in this multiple times, which is literally like, I'm going to punish you. I'm going to punish you because of what you did. So I'm not going to take into consideration what was said, and I'm going to turn you into the bad guy and into the problem. And then this is how we're going to fix the problem. We're going to file a resolution that will supersede the Constitution because I didn't like what I heard. Mm-hmm. That has echoes from history, that if you study history, this doesn't end well. And that is why we are encouraging anyone watching this, anyone who will watch it when it's posted, to get involved now, to be the resistance now. This isn't something you can sit on the sidelines and just think like, the people in charge are going to at some point be benevolent. That's not the direction that this is heading, unfortunately. And so the time is now for us to get involved and to step in and to get even louder, to know our rights and to push back harder. I think Nathan is afraid. I think that he sees what he's up against. And so this is a temper tantrum, which is typical of the Fletcher family. And it's his way of trying to assert his power that's out of line. So I think that the role for the people now is to step in that much stronger, peacefully, constitutionally, intelligently. You don't get crazy, but you use what we have, what we've been given, and you push back, because that's the only way that we're going to save our county, our state, and our country. So we have coming up this Tuesday is the next Board of Supervisors meeting. And Melissa, why don't you talk to us about what people can expect for that?
Yeah, well, so the first thing to say is that the Board of Supervisors, being able to go to the Board of Supervisors meeting is a civic duty, you guys. no matter where you live, because I know your reach, Britt, you're pretty all over the country. Even this applies to anyone, wherever you are in your local municipality, you have a civic duty and a civic responsibility for your voice to be heard, for you to stand up and to address the public servants. The time of us having armchair politics and sitting at home on the couch are gone. I mean, they were gone 18 months ago. But if this isn't the hill for you guys, if your line hasn't been drawn in the sand, I don't know what it's going to take, because we're at the point now where this is like fight or flight, and there's no opportunity really to flight. You have to fight. This is the time. And so we have an amazing platform at the Board of Supervisors meetings. Regardless of whether the board is listening or not, regardless of how they vote, if they vote in favor of this piece of trash party that Nathan Fletcher penned or not, that part of it is only one element of it. The other side that and the reason why I advocate, the reason why we organize these rallies or protests or gatherings, is because we need to remind the people that the people are in power. We are returning power back to the people. And so this is a platform for us to do that. It's a way for us to create content. It's a way for us to be able to spread the message. The last Board of Supervisors meeting went on national news, and Stephen Colbert picked it up and he kind of made fun of it. I take that as what's the word I'm looking for here? It's like they're thanking us, they're giving
what is it, like bad press is still good press?
That's right. Yeah, it's giving us the opportunity to get the message out. So what folks should expect coming down on Tuesday, we're going to be meeting. I'll probably be there at about 7:30. We're going to set up some infrastructure to have some music playing and have some speakers that can pump people up. The rally officially starts at 8. The Board of Supervisors meeting starts at 9. That doesn't mean you get to show up at 9 o'clock. That means that you get down to the Board of Supervisors by 8 or 8:30 to situate yourself, to get parking in time, to get yourself to the building. And if you are going to speak, which I invite all of you to speak, if that makes you uncomfortable, and I understand that it is for some people, just come and dip your toe in the water. Come and show us your support. Show us our strength in numbers. Just be there, witness it, watch it, and no harm, no foul. If you don't want to speak your first time, I totally get it. Even if you don't want to speak the second time, plan on being there all day. If you do want to speak, you need to come. You need to fill out a speaker slip. There's a pink one, that's in an opposition form. There's a green one, that means you're in favor, and there's a white slip, and the white slips are to sign up for non-agenda public comment. And so for anything that's not related to any of the agenda items, which the only agenda item that's really relevant to this COVID umbrella is item number 19, and that's this resolution right here. So you can fill out the pink form that says you're in opposition of that passing. Even if you don't speak, we ask you to fill out a slip, because those numbers are tallied. So even if you don't want to speak, you can write your name down still. They'll call your name. You don't have to stand up if you don't want to, but it's still important to show them how many people are opposing this. But if you want to have your 2 minutes, you can fill out a form that's on the non-agenda item public comment. What's going to happen is if we show up in numbers like we did last time, they're going to allow 10 people in the morning to speak. And then because Nathan Fletcher is going to do whatever he can to mess with us and to derail our entire day, he's going to push all of those other comments down into the afternoon. So that's why we say to plan on being there all day. Guys, I get it. This is not like a fun party. This is not like, it's not easy to sit through 6 hours of meetings. But you know what? Get comfortable with being uncomfortable, guys. Trisha Lindsay, she's a civil rights attorney in New York. That's her statement. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. The times of us getting to sip pina coladas on the beach are over, guys. This is wartime.
And I think like exactly what you're saying is if we don't get comfortable being uncomfortable, it's going to get way worse. I think there's this mentality because we have been blessed with so much in this beautiful country that it's going to get better. It's going to get better. So I don't have to get my fingernails dirty. I'll wait until next week, or I'll wait until they figure it out. It's not like you're going to need to step in now. And I know that's your encouragement too, is The time is now. Like, we're running out of time. And as we can see by this kind of stuff, it's just going to get worse. And so if we're expecting that we can just sit by in the comfort that you are seeking is going to get really uncomfortable. So either way, you're going to end up uncomfortable. You might as well just step in with us, and you might as well just push back now, instead of getting to a place where, guess what? You find yourself in a super uncomfortable position where you have lost so much ground because you didn't fight now that you don't even have the chance to fight back anymore. And that's going to fall on our kids. So that's why I am so freaking passionate about stepping in now. Now is the time. And yes, I have 2 kids. It is hard, you guys, to do everything that I do. And I don't get paid for this. I do this because I want my county and my state and my country to be free again for my children. And it's not easy doing the county supervisors meetings. It's a whole long day, you know. So you have to arrange childcare, or you bring your kids with you and you bring a friend, because it's hard, it's tough. But too bad. That's the story that we are called into. There are no more excuses anymore. And if you're going to sit by and make excuses and you're not going to get in the fight, then don't complain when this all goes to hell in a handbasket really quick, because it's not getting better. It is not getting better without us stepping in now. And this is a practical way. This is a practical way that we can behave as the active resistance. And it's going to be hard and uncomfortable, and it's not fun to speak in public. But my goodness, this is the chance for you to be a part of being on the right side of history. And you can tell your kids and your grandkids that this is what you did, that you were a part of correcting this hell-bent train. That's my soapbox.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I'll touch on one thing, and then I want to mention something else before we wrap here. For those that have kids, okay, where our Board of Supervisors, where the County Administration Center is located, it's next to a waterfront park with splash pads and with a water fountain that kids can play in, and a park. And I don't know, I mean, you know, you kind of have to dance a little bit between the two worlds, and maybe it's easier if you've got a friend who's inside that can keep you posted, and trading off so that the kids, you know, they get wiggly. They can't sit like that. Go take them to the park and then come back. I don't want to discourage parents from coming because it seems like an impossible feat, because it can be done. I mean, our friend Melissa O'Connor, I think I saw her on the live on the chat just a few minutes ago. She rolled up to the Board of Supervisors with 3 kids hanging off her hip. She had one in each arm and one standing next to her holding onto her pant leg. And it's the moms, it's the dads, it's the doctors, it's the frontline workers, it's the everyday citizens, it's the retired folks, it's the teachers, the students. Everybody needs to come together right now. So if the kids get wiggly, take them to the park, run them around outside. If they aren't entertained with a splash pad in a park, I don't know what is going to happen. I mean, that's like every kid's paradise. I even was like, man, I should have brought a change of clothes the last time we were there. But so on piggybacking on top of this being the fight of our lives, I want to mention, and I know that a lot of people are really concerned about what's going on with AB 455 and AB 1102. And so the Board of Supervisors in San Diego County, this is your opportunity to address them with that also. You can say, you can ask them, we want you to write a letter to the state of California. We want you to send a letter to each of those assembly people who are backing these bogus gut and amend bills, and use your voice. You can ask them that. You can speak into that. And there is something, a really cathartic release about addressing your public servants. It seems nerve-wracking at first, but when you get up there and you feel the power of what it feels like to use your voice as a citizen, it's kind of a high, where some people, they're terrified of it, and then they do it and they're like, oh my God, I'm so glad that I did that. Mm-hmm. And that's leading into, even if you're not in San Diego County, we've got a big opportunity for all of California and our neighboring sister states to get involved too. There's going to be a big rally at the state capitol in Sacramento on September 8th. And this is our opportunity we need to parlay all of this momentum to keep going. And in that line of thinking, this is a marathon, guys. This is not a sprint. We need to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves, that we're taking care of one another, that we're being active in the community to support each other, because this is going to get worse before it gets better. And we need all hands on deck showing up on a local level and parlaying all that energy onto the state level, because what's going on with those two assembly bills right now is pretty downright terrifying. And so we need to be looking at this as this is our, and I know a lot of folks have work full time and they've got their families and it's hard to find the free time. You got to find it, guys. This, I implore you. If your red line hasn't been crossed yet, what's going on with these assembly bills should be the last line. If it's not affecting you, it's affecting your neighbor. There is nobody that you don't know that's not being affected by part of this.
And so, I think what you said about AB 455 and going to the, using the opportunity before the county supervisors with AB 455, with 1102, if you guys don't know, there are now 2 gut and amend bills. They're trying to push these before the recall election. But what Melissa just said is accurate, and it's an important point that if you're fired up about those, which you should be, I don't care what your background is on this, this is a freedom issue. But if you are fired up about those 2 gut and amend bills, then this is a fantastic opportunity for you to speak to your public servants and demand a public statement in opposition. Jim Desmond has already made a public statement. He came out very early with it against AB 455, but this would be an opportunity for you to pick up that the non-agenda item slip when you get there, or you can also do it online if you just want to call in. So you would file under the non-agenda item, and then you would talk to that. So you would demand that our county servants come out in public opposition against those 2 gut and amend bills. And you can even demand that as a county, they push back against Sacramento and say that San Diego County will not consent to AB 455 and AB 1102. So it doesn't just have to be about this piece of trash and garbage. If you are passionate about protecting your freedoms against those 2 gut and amend bills, this is a great opportunity for you to voice that there. So I think for people, because it can be confusing, when you register to speak, there are going to be options of what agenda item you want to speak on. Nathan Fletcher's resolution is going to be item number 19. And you would be, if you don't like it, you would be in opposition to that, and then you would have 2 minutes to speak against it. If you want to speak on anything else, AB 455, AB 1102, anything else, that would be a non-agenda item, and it's at the very end, and then it's a separate slip when you get to the county too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is our time, guys. This is the time that we've been waiting for, to show up and be an example in our community. And the entire state and even the rest of the country is watching San Diego right now. We made quite a splash from the last meeting, and there's a lot of attention on us. And we're really lucky to have KUSI, a local news channel, who's able to amplify our message. But this is a movement of the people. This is what the people's resistance looks like. And it's really important, if you guys haven't gotten active and engaged in the local level, it's really important. The time is now.
Melissa, I just want to thank you so much for everything you are doing, for what an encouragement you are, and that you are an active leader in all of this. How can people find you if they want to follow what you're doing here in San Diego?
Yeah, well, the best way, we're building out a website right now that's actually going to be like an interactive gamification of how to be involved in your civics process. That website's being built, and so the best way is just to follow us on social media, San Diego Rise Up. And stay tuned, because we're going to be hosting regular weekly Citizens Speak, Citizens Roundtable meetings, where we will just have an open door for folks to come. We'll have speakers some weeks. We'll just have an open forum for people to hang out and get to know each other. So be on the lookout for that, because we need to have the fellowship. We need to have the community in between the fight. A lot of folks can get fatigued from this, and we need to really lift each other up. So that's the best way. San Diego Rise Up. Be on the lookout for the next announcement of our Citizens Speak opportunities to come meet in person. Being on social media is a tool. It's great to be able to pass the message, but like Britt says, I'm really interested in getting active, hands-on, face-to-face. That's where the real change is made, and that's where the real relationships are built. And we got to know we've got each other's backs, and that's my commitment to each and every one of you, is that I have your back. And that's what we need to get through this. We need to know who we can count on and what we're going to do to move forward. So yeah, that's the best way. San Diego Rise Up.
And then for all of you watching and who will watch this, I just want to really encourage you that you matter. I think that sometimes we can think that, what is me showing up going to do? It's strength in numbers. It's all of us stepping in. So you matter. Your story matters. How all of this madness has affected you personally matters. Your voice needs to be heard. And so I want to encourage you that you're not insignificant. It doesn't matter if you're a stay-at-home mom stirring spaghetti or if you are a doctor on the front line. You matter. Your story, your vantage point matters, and it matters for you to step in now and to take that story and to communicate it to the broader audience. And like Melissa said, the beauty of a Board of Supervisor meeting is that, yes, they are supposed to hear and listen, but our message goes so much further than that. This is making international waves. And I think that there is a change coming, that the awakening is here. And so you're a piece of that. You matter in this. It matters for you to be able to tell your children and your grandchildren what you did when the world was falling apart. So that's my encouragement. I am going to drop all of the information on Nathan's resolution, the information on the Board of Supervisor meeting below. And then both Melissa and I have posted right before this all about the meeting on Tuesday, August 31st, to be there at 8 a.m. And then if you swipe through the carousel, you'll see all the information you could possibly need on how to make it easy for you to be involved in this.
Yeah, and we'll be there Tuesday morning to greet you guys and to receive you and to answer questions and to help you along the process. This is a learning curve for a lot of folks, and we're there to support you guys. So we look forward to seeing you Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock at 1600 Pacific Highway at the County Administration Center.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Thank you for everything you're doing, and I will see you on Tuesday.
All right, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Melissa.
All right, bye guys.
Bye.